If you want richer soil, stronger plants, and harvests that keep improving year after year, this video is for you. Make sure you subscribe to Garden Wisdom right now and leave a comment below telling us what you're growing this season, because what I'm about to share can completely change how alive your soil becomes. This is not theory. This is a proven old-school method that turns ordinary garden beds into worm magnets, and it works fast. Worms don't randomly appear in large numbers. They move toward food, moisture, and safety. When you bury the right material at the correct depth, you create all three conditions at once. The single most powerful thing you can bury in your raised bed or garden soil to attract thousands of worms is a balanced mix of kitchen scraps and carbon material, placed directly where worms live and feed. This method works because worms are not attracted to compost itself, but to the microorganisms that break organic matter down. When you feed the microbes correctly, worms follow. Raw kitchen scraps alone often fail because they rot anaerobically or attract pests. The secret is combining nitrogen-rich scraps with carbon-rich material before burying them. For every 1 bucket of kitchen scraps, you need 2 buckets of shredded cardboard, dry leaves, or untreated paper. This 2-to-1 ratio prevents odor, balances moisture, and creates the fungal and bacterial activity worms thrive on. When buried underground instead of left on the surface, decomposition happens in the worm zone, which is typically between 10 and 25 centimeters deep. Depth matters more than most gardeners realize. If you bury this mix too shallow, it dries out and attracts flies. Too deep, and oxygen drops too low. The ideal depth is 1 shovel blade deep, roughly 20 centimeters. In raised beds, this usually means digging a narrow trench between rows or along the center of the bed. In in-ground gardens, bury it where you plan to plant heavy feeders like tomatoes, squash, peppers, or corn. Worms will congregate directly around this buried strip, improving soil structure exactly where roots grow. Worms do not have teeth, and, well, large chunks really slow everything down. So chop your scraps into pieces no larger than your thumb. Vegetable peels, coffee grounds, crushed eggshells, melon rinds, and spent greens. These work best. Now, you'll want to avoid meat, oils, dairy, and salty foods. If your scraps are a bit wet, just mix them with some dry cardboard before burial. The goal here is a mix that feels like a wrung-out sponge. Too wet and you'll suffocate the microbes. Too dry and decomposition just grinds to a halt. Carbon is what, keeps this whole system stable. Shredded cardboard absorbs excess moisture, creates those important air pockets, and, believe it or not, feeds fungi, which worms absolutely love. Always use plain brown cardboard, no gloss, no tape, and certainly no heavy ink. Tear it by hand or shred it, then soak it briefly, so it integrates into the soil a bit faster. When you bury it with your scraps, cardboard prevents that slimy rot that repels worms and instead produces a sweet, earthy smell underground. That's exactly what draws them in. 1 trench every 3 to 4 weeks is, honestly, enough to transform a bed. Rotate the location each time so worms can spread evenly. In a 4x8 raised bed, 1 trench per month is ideal. Within 2 to 3 months, you'll notice darker soil, better water retention, and yes, visible worm castings. After 1 full season, worms will remain even when no fresh food is present because, well, the soil ecosystem becomes self-sustaining. As worms consume organic matter, they excrete castings that contain plant-available nutrients, beneficial microbes, and stable aggregates. This in turn improves drainage in clay soils and, helps with moisture retention in sandy soils. Roots are able to grow deeper and encounter less resistance along the way. Nutrients stop leaching away and stay right where plants can access them. And, well, this is why beds treated this way outperform surface-fed beds year after year. Burying scraps without carbon is honestly the fastest way to fail. Another mistake which I see quite often is overfeeding in one spot. More is not better, trust me on that. Stick to the 2 parts carbon to 1 part scraps rule, and you'll be on the right track. Dry soil also discourages worms, so, water the area lightly after burial. Finally, avoid disturbing the trench repeatedly. Let the system work. Worms need stability to multiply. In hot regions, it's best to bury slightly deeper and add extra cardboard to retain moisture. In cooler climates, shallow trenches warm faster and speed decomposition. In both cases, this method works year-round as long as the soil is not frozen solid. Even during dry seasons, buried food stays active underground when surface composting fails. This method costs nothing, uses waste you already have, and really it builds fertility from the ground up. You are not feeding plants directly. You are feeding the soil life that feeds the plants. That distinction, in my experience, is what separates average gardens from exceptional ones. If this guide helped you, subscribe to Garden Wisdom. For more serious, proven gardening strategies, share this video with a fellow gardener who wants better soil, and comment below if you've tried burying organic matter before or if you're starting now. Your soil can be alive, you just have to give it what it's been waiting for.